Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Paterson. If it's the first time landing on a video, please hit that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me. This video is all about how to give a speech as parents of the bride or groom. What expertise do I have to give you? What experience do I have to give you tips, seeing that I am not a parent myself? That is a good question. But I recently was asked from some parents in my city, their son was getting married, and they contacted me. They had seen some of my videos on YouTube, and they asked me if I would help coach them through writing and delivering a speech. I did so. They knocked it out of the park, and I thought, what a great opportunity to share a video with some of the concepts and some of the ideas that went behind planning their speech, hopefully to the benefit of you. When it comes to giving a speech as the parents of a bride or a groom, there's this combination of things you have to say and things that you want to say. On the have to say side, these are the formalities. It's things like thanking the guests for traveling as far as they've traveled, talking about the other family perhaps, so whoever your son or daughter is marrying, thanking them, welcoming them to the greater family, things like that. These are some of the formalities that you definitely want to include. Not that you don't want to say those things as well, of course you do, but those are things to definitely make sure you're checking off as part of your speech. But then there's the want to say. There's maybe the great story that you have about your son or daughter, or the amazing qualities you see in them. So it's a bit of an art form, weaving all of those things in and making a strong speech as the parents of a bride or groom. When it comes to timing, I like to say a 5 to 7 minute speech is appropriate. I'm a big fan of the Toastmasters Club, and a lot of speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. They're that way for a reason. It's a good amount of time to keep an audience's attention. It's enough time to get into some level of detail. But once you get beyond 7-8 minutes, it's a little more difficult to continue to capture the audience's attention. Anything short of 5 minutes, it seems a little bit light. It feels like you could have added a little bit more. Now, don't stress about timing. I think when you're practicing, it's good to be mindful of how long the speech is taking. However, if it's 4 minutes, 55 seconds, that's okay. If it's 7 minutes, 11 seconds, that's okay as well. But keep that in mind as a solid range for how long your speech should be. I mentioned this before, but practice, practice, practice. It's so important. And that was one of the big keys when I worked with the local couple who their son was getting married. They wanted my help with creating a speech. That was what they had to really do. They were more the types of people who like to wing it when it came to speeches, but I really had them practice and go over so that it wasn't just spur of the moment, because this is an important moment at the end of the day. Not to put too much pressure, but it's sort of one of those things that you just get one opportunity at. Therefore, you want to make sure you're making the most of the moment and doing a really great job. And I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Make it from the heart. That is another key here, is that don't over-research how a speech should be. At the end of the day, you want it to be you. You want it to be all about your personality and speaking sort of directly to your son or daughter on what is one of the most important days of their lives. Now, in my previous videos, when I talk about a generic speech, I say that the introduction should be a clever sentence or a teaser that captures the audience's attention and then leads them in to the body or the middle of a speech. With a parent of the bride or the groom speech, it's perhaps a little bit different because of those formalities I mentioned earlier that you want to thank everybody. Therefore, your introduction may be a little bit more general than going over the top creative with it, because you have to keep all of those things in mind. I'm going to use the example of the couple I helped here locally and how the father wanted to do something a little bit unique. Therefore, he started his speech like this. Finally, here we are. After 8 years, 10 months, 9 days, 12 minutes, and 48 seconds, here we are. That was something that was a little bit unique, and it captured the audience's attention, and it sort of showed a couple things. one that he's been wanting his son to get married to this wonderful girl, which he got into later in the speech, for such a long time, and finally it's happening. We've waited for this. The other thing about it was that the wedding had to be delayed due to COVID. Therefore, this was, again, everyone had kind of felt like this, like, here we are finally moment. So that was a great way to break the ice with the speech. This then allowed the father and the mother to get into some of the formalities. First off, we would like to they thanked the bride's family for raising such an amazing daughter. Then it got into thanking some of their family members who had traveled a long way, all of those formalities. The next step of the speech gets into the fun stuff, the stuff that you really want to talk about, and those are the stories. And they alternated back and forth telling stories about their son, and they landed on 3 short stories. It's tough to get 3 stories into a 5 to 7 minute speech, but they were able to do that. So that is a piece of advice. If you have nice, quick stories about your son or daughter that have some level of humor, that is going to really add to the experience for everyone who is in attendance. Toward the end of the speech, all of these stories, especially if they're heavy on the humor, should culminate in a very nice thing that you are saying to your son or daughter to wrap it up. You want them to feel incredibly special. And while, sure, you're going to get some laughter, all of that should be kind-hearted humor that is sort of adorable rather than, of course, making fun of them. The last thing of any wedding speech is you want somebody to feel too embarrassed or anything like that. But humor is an important element as well. And those things that you would tell, stories that you've told all of your family in the past about your son or daughter that always gets laughter and you know they're okay with, that is the kind of material that is really going to go over well in this type of speech. Before you get to the end of the speech, you want to speak directly to that person who your son or daughter is marrying. You want to talk about their great qualities, why you're so happy that they are going to be joining your family, the things that you love about them, maybe a quick story about that person too, how you knew right away, hey, this person's going to be part of the family based on, and then you tell the story. There's a lot here to fit into that 5 or 7 minutes, but if you're able to do so effectively, it's going to be really effective and it's going to flow nicely and it's going to be a memorable speech of the evening. When it comes to the conclusion, I always like speeches to come full circle. The way that the father who I helped out here locally wrapped up his speech was the same way he started, talking about the 8 years, X number of months, minutes, days, and then checked his watch again, and this many seconds, and I think it was a few more minutes than he had said at the beginning of the speech to add in for how long the speech was. He wrapped it up by saying, "I'm so happy we're finally here," and then a cheers to everybody. And it went over really well. The speech came full circle. He got a lot of compliments afterward that so many people really enjoyed it. And I think that this is a really strong formula. To summarize, the template I like to suggest is start off with an introduction, something that captures the audience's attention right from the get-go. Then transition into those formalities, the things you kind of have to say, the things like thanking guests who have traveled a long way, thanking everyone for being there, thanking the other family, the family of the person your son or daughter is marrying is a really important one. And then you get into a story or maybe a couple of stories about your son or daughter, and then wrapping up with those great qualities about them. Then before the end, spending some time talking about that person they are marrying, all of the amazing qualities they have, and then wrap it up with the conclusion. And if you can make that conclusion tie back to the introduction to make it come full circle, that is phenomenal. Regardless, I know you're going to do an amazing job on your speech as parents of the bride or groom. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. I have a lot of videos about wedding speeches, whether it's emceeing a wedding or doing a speech as the best man, anything along those lines. So check out my channel and I'll see you soon.